Are you looking for new ways to be productive? Well, this video is for you. Today, I'm going to share all of my best strategies for time saving and becoming more productive as a data analyst. First up, I don't know how we would talk about productivity without talking about AI. Most people are already using chatgpt to draft their emails or work documentation, but I'm using chatgpt for the more technical parts of my job as a data analyst. So here's how it works. I will go into chatgpt and type in the type of SQL query that I want it to spit out, along with the format of the table that the query should produce. ChatGPT will then spit out a complete query with all of the necessary filters and joins. This doesn't just save me time, it also enhances the quality of my queries as ChatGPT thinks of ways to do things that I normally would have not thought of myself. And obviously, you wouldn't want to use the ChatGPT output for your final query, but using it is a great way to save you 20 minutes at the start of writing each of your queries. Now, another use that I have for ChatGPT is to have it help me write Python functions. Oftentimes, API documentation is already available online, and ChatGPT is able to draft me a function that can extract from those APIs without me needing to have to comb through a bunch of API documentation just to be able to call that API and get the data I need. This saves me hours that I would otherwise have to spend reading and understanding API documentation in order to get the data that I need for my analysis. So this is tip number 1, which is to use generative AI like ChatGPT to help you brainstorm your SQL queries and Python functions. Now, one word of warning on this tip is to make sure that you understand your company's policy on the use of generative AI. Most companies do not allow you to use ChatGPT to write code that is going to be used in production. And this should be obvious, but make sure you're never pasting any confidential information into ChatGPT. There are ways to conceptually ask ChatGPT to write the function you need without giving away any confidential information or even the use case for these queries or functions. My next productivity tip might surprise you, and it was super painful when I first started doing this, but it has been saving me over an hour every single week since I started it 2 years ago. And this is to switch your keyboard layout to Colac. Once you go through the pain of learning how to type again, your average typing speeds should be increased by around 20 words per minute. Now, if you type around 1,500 words per day, which is not hard to do, you're going to save at least 1 hour every single week. And if you're someone who types a lot more than this, then you should seriously consider switching to the Colac layout. Now, let's tackle a common workplace myth. Multitasking is often praised as a skill, but in reality, it's the complete opposite. See, studies have shown that our productivity takes a huge hit whenever we try and juggle multiple tasks. And the reason for this is because of the time it takes to set up when we switch from one task to another task. In our minds, we're just going straight to this other task, but it takes us sometimes between 10 and 20 minutes to get into the flow on a new task. If you're a disciplined person and you only end up switching tasks once every 30 minutes, this means that you are around 50% as productive as you could be. So, the more that you are able to reduce multitasking and handle any incoming urgent requests appropriately, the more productive that you are going to be on that particular day. So this is tip number 3, which is to single task as much as possible, meaning that you do not switch to a new task until the task at hand is complete. But before we move on to the next tip, let me give you a few of my hacks on multitasking, because this last tip is definitely easier said than done. One hack that I use to help me avoid needing to switch tasks is every time I will get an incoming request in Slack or email, I will copy that and paste it into a single note I have that's called needs prioritizing. So that when I'm between tasks, I can take a look at this list and insert it into my to-do list in the appropriate order. Another hack that I use in order to avoid distractions that could take me out of the flow state is to close all of my browser tabs in Windows as soon as I no longer need them. If you are like me and you have a tendency to just always be opening new browser tabs in new windows, then closing these is a great way to avoid distractions and be able to find what you need when you need it. Now, if I do need to switch tasks, I will type in the name of the task in the browser search bar and then minimize that window so that when I need to go back to that task, I can see in my dock the name of the browser window is the name of my task. So I can just reopen that and hopefully get right back into the task where I left off without needing a bunch of additional setup time. And on the note of organizing and prioritizing, one thing that has helped me be super productive is tip number 4, which is to take some time at the end of each day and prioritize tasks for the following day. This way, the next morning, I can just open my computer and immediately begin working. By doing this, I get into the flow state much quicker, and the momentum that comes from completing an important task carries me through the rest of my to-do list much quicker. And also, as I kind of previously mentioned, I like to keep all of my to-do lists combined in a single Apple Note. So this is tip number 5, which is to keep all of your to-do lists in one place, whether that's an Apple Note, a Notion template, a piece of paper, or something else. I have all of my work to-dos, my personal to-dos, and upcoming meetings in a single note. This way, once I complete a task, I will just go right to that note, prioritize all of the incoming tasks that need to be prioritized, and decide which task I need to complete next in order to meet all my deadlines and ensure that I'm being as productive as I possibly can.